Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Beach FM, and we welcome back in less than pleasant circumstances the chair of the Kapiti Chamber of Commerce, Jacinda Thorne. Good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Well, I had a bit of a shock yesterday morning. I read a report and stuff, and I've been reading up the Herald, and it is certainly disturbing times for people who value the Kapiti Coast Airport, isn't it?
Yes, I must admit we got a bit of a shock too, and here I was thinking that this week was going to be a lot less busy than what it has become. We are just really concerned and worried about the future of the airport, especially after we all worked so hard just 2 years ago to welcome Air Chathams to Kapiti. And, the support that they've had has just, been phenomenal. And I was speaking with Dwayne Emini from Air Chathams yesterday, and he was telling me that the Kapiti route on all of their routes has rebounded the fastest after COVID-19.
Yes. I talk to him every week, actually, as it happens. He sponsors one of the programs that I run. And, yes, we've been kept very well up to date, and I think he's very pleased with the way the Kapiti-Auckland route is going for Air Chathams. But, of course, that will not be the case if there's no longer a Kapiti Coast Airport. How real do you think this threat is?
Oh, it's very real. Yesterday, there were a number of people who met with the airport owners. They just happened to be in Kapiti yesterday when all this was being announced. And so basically, as we understand it, the airport was purchased as part of a bigger land package, and they weren't aware to the extent that they would need to manage the airport and all the other bits and pieces that come with it. I don't think they were prepared. Good. And, now they're looking at the long-term prospects of it, and one of the figures floating around is a reasoning for them to look at selling it is that Kapiti would need in the area of 250 flights a day for it to be economically viable. So it definitely feels to me like they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater because, we all know that's impossible. We're not Wellington Airport. But, the asset to the Kapiti Coast is just so incredibly valuable. And do we want to trade that for 3,000 homes? And that's kind of the option that's on the table right now. So, we've been meeting and talking with a whole lot of stakeholders, including all those at the airport and Tim Costley, and we are not going to let it go without a fight. Just
before we go on to the meeting that you had last night, when we talk about it's New Zealand Property Co. As I understand, it's Templeton Group and Taylor Space and Alvarium Investments. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that is my understanding.
And you met with them yesterday?
No, so our deputy chair did. He called in to see them, and they've been talking to a range of people yesterday. Some of the people at the airport who, the Aero Club and things, have been in touch with them, and Tim Costley is catching up with them as well. And so they're doing the rounds of all the major, organisations within the region, with the consistent reasoning being for the review that we would need, in the area of 250 flights a day for it to be sustainable, which I just think is, ridiculous.
No, it is ridiculous. Perhaps we should have a chat to Tim as well, because apart from being a political candidate, he's also a pilot who I imagine has used that airport a lot.
Yes, and he understands the complexities of running an airport, but also, the benefits of maintaining it. Do we want to give up our airport for 3,000 sections?
I imagine that Tim was part of the meeting last night then.
Yes, so, as well as being a candidate, I know he's incredibly passionate about the region, and as soon as, he heard that this could be on the table, he's been highly active in gathering support and making sure, that there is a strong voice there that the property owners can listen to. And so we met last night. There was a range of people from Air Chathams to Sounds Air couldn't make it to the meeting last night, but are involved with the group, to the Aero Club and other stakeholders down at the airport, plus the chamber, as we were discussing how collectively we can, put the case to the owners to keep the airport, and also how we can support all of the people who are looking at losing livelihoods if the airport was to go.
As I understand, sounds there have indicated that, suggested that perhaps the council should buy the airport. Would the Chamber of Commerce support that?
Well, it's interesting that there is some discussion around whether or not the council could potentially buy a stake in a joint partnership or joint venture with the government, or, whether it comes down to another investor. It's definitely an option, I think, that will be put to the council. At the minimum, we would want them to flat out say they would refuse to rezone the land residential, because that then puts a spanner in the works of whatever the current property owners want to do. But I think that's probably a question above my pay grade, because I really would love to see it happen. But the realities of it happening, I'm not too sure.
And you mentioned the zoning, and do you know what the current zoning of the airport is? I mean, is there an airport zone?
I think there is an airport zone, don't quote me on that, but I think the bigger question is if they were to repurpose the land for residential zoning, it would need to go through a process with council. And if council were to say, look, we do not want to rezone the land to residential, then they'd kind of be putting, the plans for that to bed. You wouldn't be able to rezone it if the council said no. So I guess that's kind of one of the first cabs off the rank, is getting the council to commit to not rezoning it, because then it's a moot point about whether or not we still have an airport. I mean, I guess the operators are committed to, flying in and out of Kapiti. So if we can keep it as an airport, that would be the first thing we'd like to achieve.
Absolutely. Are you aware of any discussions between NZ PropCo and the council?
I understand they have been meeting with them. I think I saw yesterday on the News Hub story and TV3 story, the Mayor said he had been talking to them. Of course, the council are going to be incredibly crucial for whatever they decide to do next, because they need the council to either rezone or support their plans. But we're not privy to those conversations, John. We're just a chamber.
No doubt we'll have opportunities to ask that on Beach FM, but it's nice to have alternative sources of information, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
And what happens from here, Jacinda?
Well, there is a public meeting being held next Saturday, the 22nd of August, at 2 p.m. at St Paul's Church, which is just opposite the airfield. So we're inviting, Tim's looking after this, but we're helping him organising it, the mayor, developers, users and the public to speak, because we want everyone to have their say on the future of the airport. There has been, in just one day, such a strong outpouring of support for maintaining and retaining the airport. And I don't think the property developers understand the depth of feeling within the community. So this is a really easy way for them to see firsthand the impact their decisions will have.
Right. So Saturday, the big meeting, and we'll have to have a chat to Tim Costley, I think, in between then and now on Beach FM. But I suspect you're right. I think this is a really important issue to most people on the Kapiti Coast. It's one of the things that gives us character. And something that I don't think is mentioned enough is the strategic value of this airport, because what happens if Rongotai falls off the face of the earth, which is a possibility, the big quake comes to Wellington, where is Wellington left? It needs an alternative, and this is the alternative. So big discussions to come. Jacinda, I thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Beach FM.
Thanks, John.
106.3 Beach FM.